welcome to today's edition of Chairman's Chat, is what we call it, where we talk with some of our amazing candidates. And today we have Lisa Bagley. We're really excited to have Lisa with us. Lisa is running in House District 36,
Yes.
which is, tell people where that is.
House District 36 is Mill Creek and Holiday over to 45th South and over to 27th South. So a little slice of Salt Lake and then Highland Drive up to the Cove.
Fantastic. And Lisa is out and she's doing the work. In fact, just last Saturday, I happened to be driving in the area and saw her out there with the shield. She's got this great shield
Yep.
that she puts on.
That's how I decided to be adaptable and flexible. My middle name for 2020, because who knew when we signed up in March that we would have pandemic and earthquake and wildfires,
Exactly.
windstorms, and my basement flooded last week.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
it couldn't have waited until the election was over. It had to
it
happen.
It would have been nice. It would have been nice.
Oh,
But it's life.
that is.
And you deal with it.
You deal. That's exactly right. So tell us, since 2020 has been so unique, the campaign you signed up to run
Yep.
is totally different than the one that you probably envisioned when you
Right.
started.
Right.
So give us a little bit of like, what did you do
Sure.
differently?
Sure. Well, I think the first thing was back in April, we had to make a video for the delegates because we weren't going to see them in person. And then you didn't have the usual caucus that was in person. So all of that,
Right.
that shifted. So I do have the advantage that I was ledge chair in 2014-16. And I ran caucus at Skyline in 2016 when it was crazy town for the presidential preference. And so I do know some of the precinct chairs, so that gave me a little. At least I could get them like, hey guys, could you?
It's a good base
to start working from. But I've had to look at, hey, where are people? Because you can't, Saturday was the first day going door to door. So where can I meet people? So Mill Creek has had venture out. They've had drive-ins. They've had rolling car shows that I was able to, ride in the back, back of the car, and that was awesome. And music festivals that they had in Canyon Run Park. They've got Mill Freaks coming up for Halloween. So I'm looking at where I can like be socially distanced, be in a group. Olympus High football games. I went and put my
Olympus
signs.
is still playing, right?
They are still playing. Only family can go to the games, and even Little League football games at Evergreen. Last Saturday, I went and set my signs up around and talked to people. Had my mask on, but they're like, "Hey, what's this? What are you running for?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm running for House District 36." So, trying to adapt to figure out how to get and meet.
That's great. Now, one of the interesting things is you've got kind of a leg up here in terms of advantage because you've been involved in politics. I mean, sometimes we have individuals who run for office and they're trying to kind of figure out how to do it and how to politics.
Right.
So talk a little bit about what you've done because you've got a pretty rich background in terms of understanding the issues for your area.
I'm a political science major from the U of U, and I'll admit it. I'm a poli-sci junkie, so I always keep up on what's going on. But there was a problem. There was an issue when we became a city. It was the multiple services district.
This
MSD.
is Mill Creek.
This is
when
Mill Creek. When Mill Creek became a city, if we were going to be in the municipal services district, our sales tax was going to go to a board where we would only have had one voice. So I saw that as we voted to become a city, 2 to 3. So we became a city, and so that's why I ran for city council. And not a politician. That was my first time. Myself, my husband was my campaign manager, and so just on the ground talking to people, knocking the doors, learning the issues. And I came in, there was 8 of us running for District 4, and I came in high third, and just loved the experience, so I have kept on going, community engagement and civic involvement, and haven't looked back.
That's great.
And so this, people asked me if I would run again, and I said, maybe when Patrice retires. And she is retiring this year, so that is why I'm running. And I see issues that that are important to me, important to my district, and that's
Talk a
why,
little about what those are, because you
yeah,
see, when I was
yeah,
running, I always found that like like I saw themes, like
yep,
there were always two or three issues that were coming
yep,
up
yep,
again and again from totally random people in different
right,
places. And so,
right.
what are those that you see in sort of the
Um,
Mill Creek Holiday
huge,
area?
yeah, huge number one is probably clean air. Seems to be at the top. K through 12 education, mental health, COVID, economy, which are kind of all intertwined and touching each
Sure.
other, and the canyons. And we were discussing as we were getting ready here, as I'm looking out, driving here, and you can see out the window that Neff's Canyon is still burning in above Mount
Yeah,
Olympus.
you can still kind of smell it too.
And
Yeah.
you can. So fireshed directly relates to airshed, watershed. Some of our Salt Lake drinking water comes from Big and Little Cottonwood Canyon. So again, all of those things are intertwined. And so when you talk about fire mitigation, fire management, best practices, you've got dead and down, diseased trees, another thing that's not the bark beetle that's
Yeah.
decimating Big and Little Cottonwood Canyon. But these are things that should and could be and should be managed because that's your fuel load. And that's why we
Yes.
have these massive explosive fires in the West because all these years of, frankly, I think lack of management from the Forest Service. So there could be better management there.
That's great.
So
What is it that I mean? So you came into this already kind of knowing how to do it, which is great. And one of the reasons why, as an elected official, there won't be a whole lot of learning curve. I think you'll jump right in and you'll know kind of what you're doing. But anything that what has surprised you? I mean, if you could sort of look at the process and think to yourself,
sure,
okay, you envisioned it
sure.
being a certain way, and what was totally different that made you go, oh, I didn't expect that.
Um, I think what has surprised me that in this COVID time when people are so anxiety and unknowing and they don't we don't know when there's going to be a vaccine. We don't, for 2 months, March and April, parents weren't home with their kids. I talked to families where both parents had to work. And so the fact that everyone is stressed and everyone is in the same boat, I've been surprised at how generous people have been. Like when I sent out, letters to my friends and family saying, "Hey, I'm going to run for the Utah House State Legislature." Just amazingly gracious people, and I think
That's great.
that's really surprised me because a lot of people are hurting. A lot of people have lost jobs. My
Yeah.
son-in-law had his job was cut by 40%. So it's hard, tough times, but people are still
Still,
gracious and giving.
that's
Yeah,
great. And
yeah,
ultimately, campaigning is just it seems really daunting for the average person, but it's really just a one-on-one thing. Really,
yeah,
I mean, it comes
yeah.
down to conversations you have with one person. I mean, I found that I that's the thing I love the most about it is it seemed like I'd go to an event or get ready and I'd have the twinge of like nervousness,
Right,
and then
right,
I'd get there and realize, oh, I was just talking to this person and then this person. I mean, it's just one
right,
at a time,
right.
and
Yeah.
I enjoyed that. What have you enjoyed? Like, if you had to sort of pick what you enjoyed,
That's
what would it be?
that's what I actually enjoyed when I ran for city council was getting out there for a couple of hours a day, knocking on the doors, talking to people. And that's what I've really missed. I mean, and
Oh, we've all
like,
kind of missed a
like
lot
I
of that,
said,
haven't we?
I've still been able to talk to people in the broader, 6 foot rule but really, one-on-one conversations
Yeah,
and so that was really nice Saturday getting back to that. And I put my flyer down, I stepped back off the porch 6 feet, had my face shield on, but people
still,
engaged and
you
talked.
still had
Yeah,
conversations and can talk
yeah,
about that.
sure.
Well, so quick question. I know we've got to kind of wrap up, but I'm curious. One of the hardest things I found as a candidate is is being able to answer the question, "Why are you running?" and do it in like 30 seconds. Because it's like, well, how long do you have? If you got 10 minutes, I can tell you all about me. Doing it in 30 seconds is really hard. So
Right,
I'm going to put you on the
right.
spot here just a little bit, if you're okay with that,
Gotcha,
and just say,
gotcha,
okay, Lisa Bagley, why should I vote for Lisa
gotcha.
Bagley?
Okay.
In a nutshell, give us
Yep,
just the brief
yep.
version of what is it, just in a nutshell,
Sure,
that makes you the right person.
sure. Um, what makes me the right person, the right candidate for House District 36 are of four things. Really, it's the female perspective, the global experience, the productive middle, and within a purple district. So the female perspective really, as a mother, a wife, a sister, a daughter, really gives me the perspective of um, females, women bring a different perspective, a different set of eyeballs to problem and situations. And only 25% of the legislature are represented by women, and half of those by Republican women. So really, that's representation matters, and it's 2020. On the global perspective, I've moved my family twice across the ocean, and I've plus all the other moves we've done within states. But I've been the point person, problem solver on that. The third one, the productive middle. The productive middle is where good, effective legislation happens. And on the fourth one, I live in a very purple district. And so I would love to continue my predecessor's legacy of clean air within the majority party. And I wear a couple of hats in the last few years as I have been out in the community. I am chair of VOAD, which is Voluntary Organizations Active in Disaster. And I've worked with the Women's State Legislative Council. So I kind of have a emergency preparedness hat and a public policy hat. And by wearing those two, when people ask me, what do you do? I say, I am saving the world one neighborhood at a time. And I'm ready to roll up my sleeves for District 36, and I will listen, I will learn, only then will I lead.
I love it. I think it's great. And it would be great to have someone with your background and interest in issues like clean air, but functioning within the Republican caucus, because the ability to make a difference is
Exactly.
far greater than I think even your predecessor, who frankly, she did a great job. And she is a dear friend of mine. I've known her for a long time.
Sure.
But I think that's something that you would bring that would be phenomenal. So I'd like to encourage everyone to vote for Lisa Bagley. Thank you for being here.
Thank
You for
you.
taking the time. Ballots will be arriving shortly. So when they get there, for those of you in House District 36, which is Mill Creek, parts of Holiday,
Little
Salt
slice
Lake,
of Salt
a
Lake.
little bit of Salt Lake, be sure to vote for Lisa Bagley. Thank you, and thanks for joining us today and this edition of our Chairman's Chat.